Do you own your story? Or is it something in your life that brings you shame? Is your testimony something you don't want to share publicly because you know maybe that it involves other people? I'm going to share my own testimony in terms of my own marriage. I have shared before, 3 years ago, my first video was about my own personal story growing up and how I have been raped multiple times from the age of 6 years. So today I'm going to share my own marital story or testimony. And then my name is Oyama Mdleleni firstly. And the intention here is not to slander or to tarnish the character of another person, but to share my own testimony. And our stories are always connected with other people, so it can be tricky and difficult sometimes to just try and not involve them as much as you can. But you can do that with the intention of not harming, of not humiliating and embarrassing anyone, but just to share your own part, and also just being also accountable for my own actions, because there's 2 sides to a story. There's my side and the other side. So we can share the part of the other person with respect and dignity, especially for us Christians, because we understand that we fight not against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers. So we know that there is a spirit always behind our actions, our thoughts, what we say. There's always spirit that is pushing an agenda. And when we experience harmful things, hurtful things, traumatic experiences, we then come to this realization that the other person, of course, they are dealing with their own issues, and that there's hurt underneath there, because hurt people hurt other people, and therefore, because they have not addressed the root of their pain, then they bleed on other people. And as I've said, that I own my part fully. So what happened is that, okay, my husband and I, we met 2003, around June, July. I was 20, I was doing my 3rd year at varsity. He was already working at that time. And when we met, within 6 months I was pregnant, but when we met at my house. I've shared before that I grew up in a shack, so he came. He was a friend to a mutual friend of ours. When he came, then the front window of our house was broken, because the night before my mom and stepfather were in an argument. They were in a fight, which ended up now this window being broken, and it was winter, so it was making this noise. And so now that is how we met. And when we met, like, there was not much talking, there was not much just getting to know one another in terms of just conversing and asking one another aspirations and all of that. There was nothing like that. It was just we attracted to one another, and therefore the relationship now is starting. But then the tail signs were there in terms of this is not this is not healthy. But in my mind, just to give also just a back story and a context also of my own life and my own testimony now. My father was killed in a car accident when I was 8 months old, and I grew up from my paternal side of the family, his family, which was my grandmother and his 6 sisters. So from my first memory now, at the age of 5 when I was there, and then growing up now, that's where I was then transferred to Eastern Cape to live with one of my aunts, who was living with her husband and her sons, her 3 sons at the time. That's where the rape occurred at the age of 6. And then I came back at the age of 8, raped again by a cousin of mine. So growing up now, looking back now in hindsight, I was never present in my own life. I was never conscious, fully aware. And I always say that my life, like, it was like strategically orchestrated. It was like my steps were ordered, because even though I was not presently aware, there was always a next for me to do, especially when it comes to my career, in terms of studying and passing, even though I was not even giving it like doing it with excellence, but there was always a step, something there for me to do, something there for me. There was this flow, something there for me that is next to do or to venture into. So there was not even choosing in terms of what do I want my career to be, what would I like to be when I grow up. There was none of that. But God, now knowing now in hindsight, is that God was the one who was ordering my steps. He's the one who was orchestrating and strategizing my life. Because I finished up to high school, I went to varsity. Even there, I did not anticipate what I was going to study. It was a matter of just applying because of the marks that I had gotten, and I saw that I've done well with economics, and therefore I registered for BCom, which I was admitted to. Then now from there, graduating, which then now my husband, he was still my boyfriend then, was relocating to Johannesburg, and he asked me to join him. At this time, that was in 2006, I had done now with my BCom degree. Then I moved with him. I moved with him to Johannesburg, started looking for employment. That was in end of 2006. We had already have a child at this time, and our child, because I was struggling at varsity now, keeping up with my schoolwork. Then he offered that the child be taken to his parents, which was a great deal of support and assistance, and I appreciate it even up to date. The child was then taken, grew up there. As I was finishing up, then we relocated to Johannesburg, and we took the child with us. In early February 2007, we got married at the Home Affairs offices. We then now, as I'm now, my career, I'm applying for jobs. Within that year, 2007, January, I was called to an interview. That's where now I studied disaster management, which was honors in disaster management. And I was also supposed to do also masters, but I did not finish my masters. I did not finish my dissertation. So now, just as I'm giving you this background, I want you to see my state of mind in all of this, and as I'm moving, and also as my life is being orchestrated, and as my life now is moving to this venture. Because as much as my life, when it comes to career, I felt God was ordering my steps. When it comes to relationships, especially love interest, my decision making or my choices were quite poor there, because I was attracted to men who were abusive, who were physically abusive, one of them especially, and abusive in terms of talking down, derogatory, and also anger, violence. These were the men I was attracted to. And I think I was attracted to them because of my own brokenness, my own void. Because I have always wanted to fill this void of belonging. I've always wanted to belong somewhere. So that was what was driving me to belong. So when we got married now, he has his parents still living, and he has 4 sisters and a younger brother. He's second born. And as I've said, that the signs were there early on, because I would hear from him the last time on a Friday at around 2. He would call me at work. Then I would see him the next time on a Sunday at night, coming back from friends, from drinking and all of that. And every time I would confront him about this, I saw this anger. And now we're married now, we have this child, we're just living. We are okay, he's working, I'm working, we're paying bills. Because now when I'm looking back, our relationship was based on wife and husband. There was no emotional connection. It was just the comfort of saying that there was no pushing one another in terms of growth. There was no growing in it. There was no spiritual growth. Yes, he was going to church, we were going to church, but that was just a normality. It was just a practice. It was just religion. We were not doing it with intention. For myself, I never grew up in church, so I started going up to church to his family church, because he was already a church member. So started going to his church, and even there was also I didn't know, I couldn't articulate it at the time, but there was no growth. So then there would come a time where I just stopped going. I would just get tired of just going there. And I think those signs that God was just planting in my heart. I was just numb. I was just not feeling. Now, fast forward, we are working. Okay, we've had our second child now in 2008. We've had our third child in 2010, our fourth child in 2011. In 2013. So we have these 4 kids at the time. And the relationship the marriage, yes, it's there, but it's not, there's no love, there's no connection. And as years go, I'm starting to get emotional now. And as time goes, I'm feeling this void. I'm feeling it that there's no kindness, there's no, I'm in love. It's like we are roommates who are just sharing bills, and yes, having our kids. Yes, we love our kids, I think, both of us. But we just found ourselves in this situation. Now, what happens now is that things have been going well all of this time. The bills, going well in terms of we are keeping up with paying the bills and all these things. And then 2020, because there's also indiscretions and also these symptoms that keep on booming and showing up of unhealthy sexual drives and all these things, and we decide to get divorced. But I think I'm the one who initiated it, and he was not happy with it. In 2020 now, we separate just before the lockdown. In March of 2020, he moves out, and I start to get depressed because I'm starting to see now how my actions especially are affecting our children, because our eldest at that time now was 16, and he did not want to be involved in all this weekends here, weekends there thing, and I saw how it affected him. I remember how this broke me, and I cried out to God, and I said, God, God, God. That's the day I got saved, on the 1st of May in 2020. And when I got saved in 2020, this now was I sensed God wanted me to apologize and just make amends with him. And I thought, here comes restoration. There's going to be restorations, because another thing that lacked in our marriage was that we were never friends. So the emotional part was neglected, because we were so careful in terms of vulnerability with one another. I did not feel safe with him. I probably think he also maybe did not feel safe with me in terms of sharing. But for me, it was not just sharing my pain, but it was also, did not feel safe in terms of physical safety. Because now there were many times where I would raise an issue and he would get so angry. And but also my own now, if I look at my own contribution, is that I was also angry with men for the trauma I went through from childhood. I was also angry with men, and therefore towards him I did not want to be led by him. I struggled with being led, and so when he would come up with ideas, I challenged him a lot, and that affected him. So I think maybe that's why he felt like he could not protect me, because I was challenging him and I was not like this soft place, I think. And then now we get back together again, and we have our 5th child in 2021. And now I'm saved. I have fire for Jesus. I'm reading my word. I'm praying every day. I'm fasting. I'm doing all of these things, and I'm still working full time. And in my work, I also feel like I'm dreading going to work. I don't want to go to work, because there was also this element of safety even there, because I was working in disaster management, and weekends or at night there would be like calls for people who need assistance, who have maybe their houses burned down or there were floods, so they need assistance from the municipality. Then now I would also have to respond at night. But there was also this colleague who was just making things difficult for me, because he was making advances, and I would laugh it off, and everyone at the office knew, like they would make fun of it in terms of that he was this kind of a person. I don't even think it's only me he was making advances on, but like there was this thing that it was just allowed and it was made fun of. It was, so I also just made fun of it. I would laugh it off. And but now when I'm with him at night and I have to respond, and he's also making these things, these advances, like going behind me and making this nasty, and I just did not want to go there anymore. I just did not want to be there anymore. And when I now sensed that God wanted me to leave and quit my job, I did not hesitate, because I did not want to be there anymore. But at the same time, I thought what he was calling me into was going to be something that was going to be quick, as in, like, there was going to be movement in terms of I'm going to be earning something from it. I did not have this big expectation in terms of, okay, I'm going to be wealthy from the onset, but I was trusting that at least I'm going to be earning something. Then I put in my resignation in last year, 2003. By end of February, I was done working. And also I struggle with stewarding my finances. And I also believe this is the root of it is something that happened in my childhood, whereby I'm a people, I please people. I want people to see me in a way that says I am affording, I have the things, so I would buy things I don't afford with money I don't have, trying to impress people who don't even like me. So I would be on this loop. Now I was heavily in debt. As I am resigning now, I'm in debt, and now the kids are in this school that is, we are paying these fees, and now all the weight is on him. But for 2003, school fees are paid up, and I have to sell my car. Now problems start now towards the end of 2023, sorry. Problems start now towards the end of 2023. So I put in my resignation 2023 February. Now we are now in August now of 2023. That's where now there's no money from my side coming in. I have been making these videos on YouTube. I have been getting these downloads and writing these books. I have been now sensing that God wants me to be a coach, and I've been learning and teaching myself and doing all of these things. I have been marketing myself, putting out ads, getting leads, calling these people, putting out the program, and no one is buying. No one is buying. I've spoken to over 300 people and no one. And in fact, I would get people, then these people need this thing, but they do not have the money to pay for it. So I would end up being in a group, and I'm trying to motivate them and encourage them in a group. but no money is coming. My bank account is negative. I have these people calling me, I'm owing money, and now it's affecting the marriage. My husband is furious with me. He is resenting me. He is, as I'm making this video, it's been 2 months. We're not speaking. We're sharing the same bed, but we're not speaking. He has called me every word, any derogatory word that comes to his mind. He has called me stupid, he has called me selfish, he has called me spiteful, he has called me every word you can imagine. He has said some very hurtful things, and I'm trying to understand. Yes, I'm the one who put him in this position now, because the kids had to, for the term 3, they had to come out of school. They were expelled from school. There was a lack of payments, and he had to scramble up something to get them reinstated. He had to pay over 100,000 to get them reinstated. So I understand that part, but it of course does not justify the words he has spoken, how he has spoken to me. It does not justify it. Yeah. And what do you do when you did what you think you felt God telling you to do, and it just blows in your face, and it just blows up on your face? And it's been 15 months now, no money, no negative account. Don't know what is going to happen next. I have these books I've written, I have this coaching program I starting to get discouraged. But now my husband is saying that I'm too saved, must come to reality, must get a job. What happens when you believe and nothing happens at that moment, and it is affecting everyone around you? What happens? What do you do? Because it is affecting my children. Like, now, how is this December going to be? Like the last December, and I'm trying to keep my faith. I'm trying to believe and hang on the word. I think I just find myself back, and I try to lift myself up, and now I'm thinking of just going back home to Cape Town, and with my tail between my legs, and start all over again from there, because it's obvious that the marriage is over. I cannot I cannot continue with it, in it. As much as I understand his position, I truly understand, and I hold no grudge, no resentment, no unforgiveness in my heart for him and his response and how he has spoken to me. I hold no resentment, but I can't still continue the marriage. I just pray that we can have amicable relationship, because we have now our 5 children we need to raise and take care of. But when it comes to us, he has said some hurtful things. And even though he was saying these hurtful things, in some of them he was freeing me, especially when he said that yes, he's flirting with other women because I don't satisfy him. Something, I felt like there was a chain that broke in my soul when he said that, because I have used sex to keep men and to also not feel the emotions of my own pain. And when he said that I don't satisfy him, I broke free, because that means what I have been using and maybe for control and manipulation and is not effective. So I'm free. I'm free. I don't have to be in places where I don't feel worthy, I don't feel valued. I don't have to be in places, in spaces with people where I have to force myself in, where I have to lose myself to belong and to be accepted. I don't have to do that anymore. Yes, it has taken me 41 years to realize it. And to start all over again now, when you are in a marriage for 18 years, been together for 22 years, and you have to start all over again, it's a risk I'm willing to take. Rebuilding myself up, leaving everything here, and not even contesting anything, just starting from zero. That's where I'm finding myself now. And I still trust God. I still trust him with all of my heart, that even this is going to use it for my good and for his glory, that nothing is lost. He will still make a way. I'm believing. So I don't know what's going to happen from here on, especially for my finances, because now it's been 15 months, all zero, negative bank account, and all this debt and all these things. But I'm still trusting God. Yeah. So I'm just gonna end it here. I'm gonna end it here. I hope this can also set someone free to know that you're not alone. You are not alone. God sees you. God hears your cry. God is taking account of every tear. God will avenge you where you're feeling there's injustice and you are humiliated for no reason, wrongly accused. God sees you and He's fighting for you. Until next time then, goodbye. Take care. Thank you.